What's up, YouTube fam? I'm back for another thrilling episode. This time we're going to be putting stick coils into a Bandit 1200. What could go wrong? Nothing, hopefully. Anyway, I'll show you what I've got and I'll show you what you need, okay? And then we'll just start wiring it up, see if it works. First thing you need is strong coffee. You can have a few biscuits if you're a fat bastard like me. You can put some honey on them if you're a cheapskate. Anyway, and if you want to be really fat, you can put another digestive on top of them. But that's beside the point. Let's get on to the coils, shall we? Right, I have ordered these. These are the plugs that go into the top of the stick coils, and they come with all the connectors down the bottom and a few like orange plugs and yellow things. I don't know what the fuck they're for. Anyway, we'll get to that, I'm sure, in due course. And I also ordered 4 stick coils from China for the grand total. I think it was about, I can't remember what it was, but I'll put the links down below. They're pretty much the same as the Denso ones, except they're cheaper, obviously, and they're from China. Right, so that's what you're looking at. You need 4 of them. Other 3 are sitting there, and I'll just put that away because I don't need it right now. This plug here plugs into the top of this stick coil once it's sitting inside your bike, inside your cylinder head. This end goes onto the plug where my pinky finger's pointing, and like I say, this end sticks up and your connector goes in there. I know you undoubtedly know this, but you know there's maybe somebody who doesn't, so I'll just explain it for their benefit. Right. Oh, that biscuit's looking good. Put that away. First things first, we need a wiring diagram so that we don't go wrong. And I couldn't have done this without the help of dear old Greg Campbell on Old School Suzuki. He provided me not only with the wiring diagram, but he provided me the link to the connectors and to the stick coils. And in fact, let me just see if I can get it up on my eBay and get some item numbers for you, because I've been spending money, as you do. Let's see, purchases, purchase history, 10 messages. What the fuck's that all about? Right, let's see. Wheels. Here we go, there's the coils, right? If you want to take a note of that item number or the description, or just type that in. GSF 1250 2007 2010 Bandit Ignition Coil Stick Cap. £36.24 for 4 of them, which is pretty good, I thought. And the seller is, God, it's not focusing very well. Go homie. Right. Anyway, let's not get carried away. Next up, these are the connectors. Type that in. 4 times Denso coil connector, Suzuki, Triumph, Yamaha, blah, 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 blah. Kawasaki, £10.66. That's what you get. And that's from Paul552. So if you want to get the same ones I've got, then this is what you want. So that's like £10.50 for that. And what were the other ones? 40. So around about 50 quid. A lot cheaper than getting somebody on the internet to do them for you. Let's go back to the wiring diagram, shall we? Right, this is where your bike loom is. And towards the coil area, you'll see that there's 2 connectors for the coils. They're like flag connectors, okay? So this is for one coil, normally, and this is for your other coil, normally. The first coil feeds plugs number 1 and 4. The second coil feeds plugs number 2 and 3. So it's the same setup, basically, except you're doing away with your coils. Your coils would normally be here, and then you'd have your leads to the plugs. Okay, so this is what wiring colour we have. This is on a Mark 1 Bandit, 1997. I'm not sure if they changed it later on, but as long as you keep it the same, you know, you won't go far wrong. On ours, we get orange and white, 1 wire, and a white on the other wire. And then for the other coil, we've got another orange and white and a black and yellow. Okay, so this is where your wiring goes. Your orange and white goes to plug 1. And this wire here, that goes from 1, it goes all the way across to 4. I haven't put a colour in there because that'll be just whatever colour wire you decide to use. You can have whatever you like: blue, black, white, yellow, purple, tartan. And the same with this wire here. I haven't put it in because that's the one between 2 and 3. That again will be the whatever colour of wire that you decide to use, okay? Because these are just bridging from 1 to 4 and from 2 to 3. So back to the connector from the bike. Like I said, your orange and white goes to plug 1. Your white goes to plug 4. Second coil, your orange and white goes to plug 2. Your black yellow goes to plug 3. And then in between you have this additional wire. And these wires all connect this like block at the plug. That's what this connector block is, okay? And you have to wire them into these individual, see that little silver terminal there? You'll have one of these wires, the orange and white will be in the end of one of them, and so on and so on. And then you just push them into the back of these connectors. Hope that makes sense. So like I say, that's what these plugs here are. The bit says 1, 2, 3 and 4. That's your actual stick coil pointing down on top of your spark plug. And this little square block is that little connector. Okay, so now what we need to do is get some cable, and I'm going to match it up with these colours, and we'll make up a little mini sub loom so that we can just plug this stick coil connectors straight into the loom. Okay, so I need to go and get some cable out of the garage in the right colours hopefully, and we'll start making this up. If I don't have the right colours, I'll obviously tell you, but it'll still connect to the same. Okay, right, I'm going to have my coffee before my head explodes, have a couple of them biscuits, then I'm going out to the garage to get some cable and my crimping pliers and a Stanley knife and side cutters. That's probably all you need. Some heat shrink so that you can heat shrink this all in and it'll look nice and tidy. And I'll be back and I'll show you. Here's a few of the tools you'll need. Stanley knife, some description, craft knife. These are crimpers for the little silver terminals, and a set of side cutters, decent set. These are CKs, which are pretty good. And another good idea is to have some tape, just so that when you're putting all these together, you can just like put a wrap of tape around it just to stop it from going haywire. Right, I had a look in my box of wiring, and the wiring that I do have, which is down below all this, you probably get something similar to this. We've got connectors, bullet connectors, blah blah blah, lots of them, solder, blah blah blah, old bits of loom. This is probably what I'll end up using, to be fair, because my good wire, as I call it, I don't have any the right colour, and it looks a little bit on the thin side, I thought. So this stuff here looks a bit thicker. I know that's all to do with resistance and all the rest of it, but if I can get the right colours out of this old loom, I will, because it saves me digging into my new stuff. And this is just scrap anyway, but there's a nice white wire, you know, if that's long enough, that'll do nicely for the white. And you're probably better using all new wire, but I know that this loom isn't that bad. You know, it's not like anciently old and crap flipping insulation and whatnot, or if it was, then just use new wire, new cable. Alright, so I'm going to cut out what I need out of this lot, and then we'll come back and we'll get it crimped up. Like I say, keep your tape, and another thing I'll do is when I cut this, I'll actually take it over to the bike and then measure it up to make sure that I've got enough, obviously, to go between the cylinders and whatnot, and then before I cut the other end of it, okay? And then once I've got it all measured out and all the rest of it, then we can start putting it into some heat shrink. But I've got some of this sleeving stuff here. Might put it into that. It's like a heat-proof sleeving. If they'll fit. And then just put a bit of heat shrink in the end. Tidy it up nicely. Or failing that, I have got some heat shrink there. It's a bit in the... No, it's too big, that stuff, I'd imagine. There's some more. But that's like more for single cables, really. A couple of cables. And there's some more of that, like other stuff, same as this, basically. And I'll get that sorted out. I'll get these cut to size, and then I'll come back and show you what we've done. But like I say, you probably get something similar in your garage, full of old wires and cables and soldering irons and connector blocks and fuses. And I just tend to keep all my electric stuff in one place. Makes it easier to find it, you know. That's my solder, electrical contact cleaner. There's a pin removal tool in there somewhere. A couple of them. And all sorts, like heat shrink and, like I say, more bullet connectors and more connectors. Oh, that's a thing now, I should have mentioned. What you will need is a couple of proper connectors for where you join into the loom. And for that, I'm going to use these. Let me see, where did I put them? Did I put them in there? No. Aha, here they are. I got these from vehicle wiring products many years ago, and you get these little connector block kits. It's like 2 halves of a connector block plus the pins, you know. So I need two 2-port ones. That's a 4-port one. I guess I could use that at a push, you know. It's just for the bike loom side of the wiring diagram, if you like. But I'd rather keep it a 2-pin connector and a 2-pin connector, so that I know which two are going to which coils. If that makes sense. You can order these online. They're not very dear, a couple of quid, I think. That's the sort of thing you're after. Okay. And obviously I'm going to have to cut off the flag terminals. Let's just have a look at the bike. I'll show you what we're dealing with there. That biscuits were nice, by the way. Let's just have a look at the bike. Right, this is your wiring diagram for the bike. And these are your flag connectors. The ones with the black are for one coil. The ones with the white are for the other coil. The white ones do the coil on the left, which is 1 and 4. The black ones do the coil on the right, which is 2 and 3. Okay, so you'll know what's going where. If you do cut these connectors off, mark them. Just put something like 2 and 3 on it, and 1 and 4 on the other one, or you'll end up getting into all sorts of trouble. And I'm going to cut these off, and these are going to be where that 2-pin connectors are going to be connected to. That'll connect into my sub loom, if you like, that's going to all the coils. And like I say, I'll measure it out between the plugs, you know, 1 to 4, 2 to 3, and then back to this connectors for the wiring. So I'm going to cut some wires, and then I'm going to put them over here, measure them up, and then I'll come back. Right, after much deliberation and not finding many cables that matched my wiring diagram, I've got 6 cables here, which is what you need. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 2 between the 2 coils. So that's 5, and then the big one's 6. Did I manage to get any of the colours? I got an orange and white. Whoopee. And I got an orange and red, I think it might be. Orange and blue. Did I get an orange and red as well? That's orange and white. That's orange and white, right? So we've got 2 orange and whites, an orange and blue, a white and black, a black and white, and yellow and green. So, and I've also got a white, plain white one, I think, have I? Or have I? Yes, I have. It's at the back there. Plain white. So I'll use what I have that's the same as the diagram. The other ones I'll just put the colours in that I've used afterwards, okay? So I'm going to go over to the bike now, measure these up between the coil packs, etc., leaving enough room. In fact, let's just show you what we're going to do when we get there. Let's go over to the bike. Right, so just for example, I'll take this white cable. This white cable here, this can go from, that's where the coil pack for number 1 plug is. It can go from 1 to 4. This can be one of the loops because it's quite long, yeah. So basically you just measure it out from there, giving yourself, and I don't know if you want to take them up here or not, you know, it's up to yourself. Make sure you leave yourself enough room though to get from there, to get from 1 to 4. And remember, your coil pack actually sits pretty much just above here, so if you measure it to the hole, you'll not be far out, but don't make it tight whatever you do, because then you'll be struggling trying to flip and get it tucked out the way anywhere. I might take mine up the top here, because I won't be using this for coils anymore. I might actually slot some of the cables through that hole just to get rid of them, get them away from the heat of the engine, you know. But what I'll do is I'll measure them all out, and then I'll tape them together before I actually put any connectors on any ends and that. Okay, so I'll do that first. Like I say, that'll be the one between 1 and 4. I'll sort the rest of them out, and you bear in mind that you're connecting into here, so if you try and keep it so that your cables are terminating round about the middle of the bike up here somewhere, it'll be easier for connecting these two at a later date. Okay, so that's on my way to do just now, and then I'll show you it once it's all taped up. Right, what I've done to make it easy is taped them up, and these are the 2 connectors that I'm going to be connecting into my main loom. I've got my orange and white and a black and white. Okay, and that is these 2 here, orange and white. Sorry, I'm talking shite. I'll start again. Orange and white and my white. There's this side here. That's the orange and white and the white, and it is going, the orange and white is going to number 1 port, which is down there, and the white is going to number 4 port, which is over there. Now you'll see that I've used orange and white, same as the diagram for plug number 2. That's it there, that's the orange and white there. And I've used a green, which is going from coil 2 to coil 3. That's it there, okay? You can see it there where my finger is. And then I've got a black and white, which is replacing the black and yellow that's going to the main loom. That's it there, black and white. That's going to plug number 3. And I also have a black and white, sorry, a white and black it should be, that's going from 1 to 4, not black and white. It's white with a black tracer. The black and white one is the plug number 3 from the switch. I'll sort this out and I'll put it up properly. I'm confusing myself. I hate electrics. I don't know why the hell I'm even making this video, to be honest. I just thought it might make it easier for somebody, but I'm probably complicating matters more than anything. So obviously these are way too long, so I'll have to chop them all back to roughly the size they need to be, and then I'll feed them all through the sleeving, and then once I've done that, I'll get the ends. This one's here are going to number 1. Got an orange and white and a white and black. These will get terminals in the end of them, and they'll get put on the plug that is connected to the stick coil for number 1. Okay, But like I say, I need to shorten all this. I'll do that. I'll also draw this out a bit better. I'll maybe just start again with actual wire colours that I've used, because I'm just confusing everybody, including myself here. In fact, I'll do that and I'll come back. Right, I've shortened these. This is for 2 and 3 coil, and I've changed the black and white for a blue because the black and white was a wider cable than the rest of them, so you can't really have that. You need them all to be the same resistance and all that nonsense. So this will come up to the connector block up here. These will come to the coil. Okay, so that's one of them done. I just need to do 1 and 4 now. I'll do that and then I'll come back. Right, so that's 1 and 4 connected up. This is a bit that goes to the loom. Obviously there's plenty there to go to number 4. There's plenty there to go to number 1. Okay, and these, sorry, this goes like that. Yes, indeed. So that's your 1, 4, then up to your connector. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the heat shrink on these just to tidy them up and make it look presentable. And ideally, I'd like these 2 connectors to be quite close together at the top, you know, where I'm connecting the other 2, just to keep it tidy. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to start putting some connectors in the ends, strip the cable and put some connectors in the ends. Right, we're on the connector stage now. This is one that I've done. I'll just put a bit of tape around the top of it, and I'll put a bit of heat shrink along this bottom part here. I'll just stick a bit of tape in the meantime, and I'll also show you how I connect the connectors. Now what I'll do is I'll take a female, which is this one here. No, it's not. Yes, it is. This is a female connector, and I shall put that on the end of this cable here. And what I do is I strip about that much off the end. In fact, that's a better picture. I strip about that much off the end. Okay, and then I take the cable and I fold it over onto the sleeve. And then when I put this into the connector, I make sure the copper is against the bottom of this connector, so it would be like that before I crimp it into place. Okay, and that way you're always sure you're going to get a decent contact between the copper and the connector. Okay, there are various ways of doing it. You can solder them. You can like fold over the end of that in half and then put one half. If you look at this connector, there's 2 prongs on it. Let's just see it. Right, you see there's 2 prongs just below my finger. Some people put the bare copper under the prong furthest to the left and the insulation under the prong to the right. But I just put the insulation right the way into the hilt. And like I say, make sure the copper's in the bottom of the connector. Alrighty. It's worked for me for 20 years. I've never done electrical failure yet, so must be something in it. Right, that's the 2 connectors on there now. As you can see, they're crimped. They're both solid and going nowhere. And what I'll do now is I'll slot these into the back of this connector here. And all you do is push them in, you know, so that the female is sitting out this way, obviously, because the part on the top, that's the bit that the connector locks to. Okay, hope that makes sense. Let me show you in this one. Part at the top is there, so when the connector slides on, it clips into this part here. Okay, so I'll stick this one's on, but I'll put my heat shrink on that wrap stuff on first, and I'll just tape it at the top just to secure it. And I'll take this bit of tape off here because obviously I'll be putting some heat shrink down the bottom as well. Okay, so I'm away to do that. We're on to the connectors for the actual stick coils now. So as you can see, I've got my heat shrink on, and then you get these little rubber bungs, I guess. You have to slip them over the end of your wires. Okay. And I've no idea what these yellow things are for, so I've not done anything with them. And your connectors, these are pretty small, I must admit. Pretty small connectors, so what I found is I tried doubling over the cable like I was telling you earlier onto the insulation, but it's just a little bit too big, so what I'm doing with these ones is I'm going to take the end of the copper and just fold it back in itself to about where my finger is, top of my nail, and then that'll be like a double width of a sink of this going into the connector, and then just crimp it down in the best Blue Peter fashion. Here's one I've done before. That's the little rubber bungs. As you can see, they're crimped on there. Pretty secure. So all you do once you get them crimped on is you push them into the back of these things. Yeah. Let's just have a look at one of them. You push them into the back of them, and that's where your little rubber bungs go into that circular parts, I presume. And then your connector will be poking out this end to go into the stick coil. And that's pretty much it. Obviously, shrink your heat shrink. I took off that netted stuff. I didn't really like it, to be honest. It was too big. So I'm just going to Tessa tape this once I've got the heat shrunk. And then all you do is fit the plugs into your bike, fit the stick coils onto the plugs, and then these little doobly firkins here that will be on the end of your cable, they just push in, and that's the jobbed. Okay, so there's not much more I can tell you about it, but be careful with these because they are not the best quality, shall we say. They're Chinese, obviously, and they're not very big, so it's easy to fuck them up. So try not to do that if you can. And then bish bash bosh, you've got a set of stick coils that didn't cost you 150 quid off eBay. Happy days, man. Happy days. Peace out, my Negroes. Right, that's him finished. As you can see, I've shrunk the heat shrink. And at this end here, I've just used Tessa tape. And what I've done is I've wrapped it around the bottom of the heat shrink here as well, so that there's no possibility of moisture getting in at this point and running down to the leads. You also need to put this yellow clip in at the end. Only goes one way, so you can't really make a mess of it. And these little rubber bungs, I'm going to get some tweezers or something and try and push them in a little bit further if I can, just to seal them up properly. I suspect they probably have to go right the way in, to the connector. So that's that. Like I say, another job done. I just need to fit the connectors onto the bike loom side to match this, so that these will connect into the actual main loom. Okay, so hopefully, I know it was a bit of a mess earlier on with all the wearing colours and stuff, but hopefully this will help somebody put this together and get rid of those horrible coils that tend to malfunction and leads that tend to malfunction. And the reason I'm actually building these is because I had to use the coils off of this bike and another Bandit I've got, because one of the coils went duff on me, or the lead or the cap. I just replaced the whole coil. I couldn't be arsed pulling plug leads off and testing them and whatnot, so I just changed the whole coil. So that's your stick coils for a Bandit 1200 Mark 1. Like I say, hopefully it was useful to somebody. If not, well, keep scrolling. If it was, put a like down the bottom and subscribe for more, motherfuckers.